Happy almost 4th of July, people. It's time for another TPN News Blast. Let's get into it. Donald J. Trump just recently held a rally on Saturday in Pickens, South Carolina. And of course, the typical shenanigans are happening around this rally. He claimed during his speech 75,000 people are here. As Bill Mitchell, a previous ridiculous Trump sycophant back in the day, pointed out that 75,000 people fit inside Notre Dame Stadium. This is what 75,000 people look like. And as you can see, this is pretty packed. There is not too many gaps here. This is 75,000 people. According to Bill, this is not 75,000 people. The local sheriff has said the town has about 3,000 people. He thinks 10 times the amount of townspeople were there, putting the estimate conservatively at 30,000. Some people are saying it was 50,000 easily. I don't care if it was 2,000 or 200,000. What is the point of being at a rally when Trump is speaking, or anybody is speaking over here on this podium to the left where the red is, and being way back over here somewhere in the shade of this typical southern Main Street department store looking awning over here is? I mean, are you even really going to hear over here? I mean, forget seeing it. Are you even really going to be able to hear over here? Were the monitors going to reach that far? Were they really wired to go that far? Maybe this little black over here by this building, that could be a speaker monitor over here. Yeah. Incredible killer of infrastructure if a town holds 3,000 people and 10 times that amount are in town. But then again, you know, I guess you'd have to have Sturgis weigh in on that. I don't know how many people are in Sturgis and then how many people show up for the bike rally. Many people like Bill are saying this was not 50,000 people. A police officer saying, well, I got to wait to rely on the Secret Service. I think it's 50,000. Whether you care or not, this is still a man who believes crowd size is pud size and is ego stroking top to bottom. To him, crowd size is the equivalent of being called handsome and intelligent by attractive people. It soothes this man's ego and enlarges it, and he set this trend by lying about his inauguration numbers because he was so jealous of Obama's numbers. So when you talk crowd size, it's a valid discussion with Trump. This one does look very, very solid on its appearances. However, it has been pointed out that Pickens was having a 4th of July celebration this weekend anyway. So how many of these people were actually here to see Trump, and how many of them were simply in town, and or some combination of both? One will never know, but of course there's arguing about crowd size. Now, one of his crowds where he absolutely lied, and his campaign managers would lie about this stuff, was in Charlotte, North Carolina. The arena, this was a winter one, so it was an indoor arena. The arena held about 9,000 people, and his campaign staff said there were tens of thousands of people in attendance. That is a total crock, because if the arena has 9,000, you're not even at 1/10 of 1,000, no less, multiple. Of course, they always say things like the overflow and the people in their cars and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so if you have a arena that holds 9,000 people, do you think there's going to be another multiple tens of thousand people outside? They can't even park. How does an arena that holds 9,000 people have parking for considerably more than 9,000 people? Generally, when people go to arenas, there's multiple people in a car. It's not one person to two cars. It is 2-3 people to a car. So ridiculous mathing has occurred before. We know he's lied about it. We know he's overinflated it before. Whether he did on this one, likely, if he's claiming 75,000, could it be between 30 and 50? Possibly. So the Greenville News over here ran an article saying that there were definitely health concerns at the rally because people were fainting. It was very hot. Direct evidence from people being interviewed at the rally had said there was not enough water. The water was warm. People were definitely struggling with the heat, with the crowd sizes, and it was not planned out well. So people were fainting and needing medical assistance. Here, Police Chief Randall had said that about 50,000 people had showed up, and the afternoon temperature soared into the mid-90s, causing dozens of people to suffer from heat-related illness. It was at least 50 who had issues. I can't imagine what it would have been like to get to people somewhere in the middle of this if they had issues. Just yeah, the cult is crazy on this. Now, if you want to talk about crazy cults, let's listen to this interview that took place outside the rally Saturday, July 1st in Pickens, South Carolina. This is not liberal media. This is RSBN, which is like Right Side Broadcasting Network. This is basically an ON or a Newsmax and everything. This is not CNN or MSNBC or anything like this. This is a very conservative-leaning media channel, and just listen to this interview.
What should President Trump do on day one when he gets back in? Lock him up, right? The deep state, take it down?
Yeah, take it down. And take him to the train station.
Take him to the train station? I didn't say that.
Yep, you heard it, folks. So first, this lady over here who looks like her outfit is a combination of the American flag and maybe a Budweiser can. I don't know what the hell's going on over here. I know it absolutely jiggled like the description of Santa coming down the chimney. By the way, you are not supposed to wear the American flag as apparel. It should never be used as clothing. That is, when people like to go off about the pride flag at the White House and everything, and how the American flag was disgraced because it was on the sides. No, the American flag was still above the pride flag on top of the White House, but conservatives clipped the pictures and the videos to make their point. It still was exactly where it needed to be. It still followed flag guides. It's not a regulation. It's not code. It's a guide. It's what you're supposed to do. There is no legal ramifications for it. However, the American flag is not supposed to be used as clothing. And of course, you have people who think they are overly patriotic who do stuff like this, but then go ahead and slobber all over the pride flag controversy, not realizing that they were being lied to, but then they themselves are actually breaking flag code. But this lady right here, let's go back to this again and listen to what she says and her reaction to it.
Take him to the train station.
Take him to the train station? I didn't say that.
He gets it. She gets it too. She knows what she's saying because she doesn't cover her mouth as if she said something controversial or something she didn't mean. She believes it's absolutely hysterical what she said. In case you need it spelled out for you, there was an event in the history of world population occurred in a European country, believe that country began with a G, where people went to the train station, were put on trains, and then those trains terminated at a specific location. They were let out at that location, and punch and pie was clearly served. I think you can understand what I'm getting at here. It has some similar letters to hologram, except this was not Michael Jackson doing Captain EO at Epcot Center when I was there in the 90s and everything. Not that kind of hologram, but, you know, it's got hollow in it. Some people like to deny it happens, which is basically lump those people in with the flat earthers and the people who don't believe in moon landings. This is what the cult of Trump believes and thinks is. Look at that. Look at that smile over there, and look at her laughter to it. This guy, I think, if you just freeze it over here, that guy just seems to be horrified. But yeah, I don't think he wants to be on camera anymore at that point. Yep, so she repeats it over there, and he's like, oh, nope. He's kind of laughing still, but it seems like he wants to get the hell out of there. The reporter, and this is the problem with reporting on all sides today, challenges don't happen. His response of, well, I didn't say that, it should have been, you are a disgusting person. That is a disgusting comment. Are you crazy? Get the hell out. I mean, there's so much that any valid and compassionate human being could have said in response to this. And you have Budweiser American flag lady think it's great, and she continues to fan herself. She thinks it's hysterical. The reporter does nothing to diffuse the situation. Salmon colored guy over here with the glasses and everything. It dawns on him over here, and he's like, he wants to get out of there. He's still laughing. That head shake is laughter, but this is what happens at Trump rallies, folks. So this is what leads people to harp on the comments of very fine people on both sides and everything. It's just disgusting. That is a disgusting moment, and no matter where you fall on the political spectrum, you should be calling this lady out and saying how absolutely disgusting her comment is. Now, to think, when I want to prove a point over here, Richard Spencer, a notorious white supremacist bigot in the United States, we are talking neo-Nazi level of people, almost essentially like KKK level of people like David Duke and everything. Prior to 2016, Richard Spencer was very much pro-Trump because, well, it's Trump. Trump really doesn't distance himself from this kind of stuff. In the run-up to 2020, Richard Spencer famously flipped and said he's voting for Biden. Now, here is where the campaigns differed excessively. When you have very fine people on both sides, Trump, who just doesn't want to alienate anybody who might actually vote for him, and will do everything in his power to alienate the people he knows definitely won't vote for him. Whereas the Trump campaign would have been absolutely wishy-washy about the endorsements of people like this, and he would have gone into that, tell me who I'm supposed to dislike, tell me who I'm supposed to denounce, I'll denounce them, tell me who. Like, you orange creamsicle dumpty idiot, you should know absolutely who are the people you should be denouncing. But he won't do it because he doesn't want to risk, he knows what his fan base is, and he doesn't want to risk going against them, so he's not going to say something like that. But when Richard Spencer went and switched over to Biden, and we'll get into that reason in a moment, Biden turned around so fast your head would spin and said it is absolutely repugnant and your support is 10,000% unwelcome. How could you have less of a definitive statement than that? That is by far what the statement should be, and he put it out there. He's like, double middle fingers, don't care. Who are you? New phone number. Who this? Get the hell out of my wagon over here. Get out of my campaign train. I don't care who you're endorsing over here. Richard Spencer famously flipped to voting for Biden, not because Biden is a racist, but because he considered Trump too stupid to get it done. The 2016 to 2020 time period over there, especially the COVID handling, proved to a ridiculous racist like Richard Spencer, it is not worth voting for him again. I'm going to side with what I would call the enemy, somebody who I would not consider a white nationalist by any stretch. I'm going to vote for him because my candidate, while he shares my political views on white supremacy and everything like that, I am not going to vote for him because he's an idiot and he bungles everything. What does that tell you? That says so much. I can't even begin to talk about it any further than that. Moving on to a new topic, the SCOTUS has said that the case of Lori Smith, the web designer who said she wanted to refuse doing a website for same-sex marriages, said, yeah, you could do that. You can get away with that. It's not discrimination. Go ahead. So let's listen to Lori Smith over here.
I'm so very grateful to the United States Supreme Court, who affirmed today that Colorado can't force me or anyone to say something we don't believe. This is a victory for all Americans across our great country, whether you share my beliefs or hold different beliefs.
Shut up.
I
just shut the absolute hell up. Nobody was saying you have to support same-sex marriages or believe them. People were saying you cannot discriminate at your business based on what is considered a protected group. You have gender, you have race, there are so many classes that are protected, and this status is one of them. And when you go against a protected class like that, it is considered discrimination. If she was to refuse service to men, that is discrimination. If she was to refuse service to women, discrimination. If she was to refuse service to African Americans or Asian Americans or Hispanics, Canadian Americans, all of that would be discrimination. And that's what's on the books in Colorado. But the case made it up to SCOTUS, and SCOTUS was like, yeah, you can go ahead and do what you want. First of all, she looks like she's a member of Moms for Liberty, a.k.a. Planned Parenthood, has been the phrase to reply to that. There is a thing, though, about this case. So it was upheld 6-3 that she could get away with it because the Supreme Court has become ridiculously Christian conservative. Now, they're still not siding with Trump. Everything that comes up there about voter fraud and Trump having actually won the election, they're still avoiding that. They're still doing good with that. But the repeal of Roe v. Wade, the student loan stuff, the college, admissions and everything, they have just been going so far to the right. And you can sit here and say, well, the political napalm, maybe then, if Ruth Bader Ginsburg was pushed to retire during Obama's administration, instead of giving up her seat when she sadly passed away, maybe if Obama had fought harder and said, you're getting on there, lady, can we get a young filly in to replace you over here? If she didn't say, no, I got this, if Obama pushed harder, would things be different? Yes, absolutely. Fault where fault is due. That is one of the faults of this. But everything that happened during the Trump administration, like with Keggernot and ACB and everything getting rammed through when so many Republicans had denied Merrick Garland and said this is a lame duck administration, this doesn't reflect the will of the voters. And then they said, like Lindsey Graham, mark my words on this, we would never do this if we had the opportunity to. And then he went and did it during the Trump administration, and they rammed ACB through far closer to the election. The only saving grace is that potentially Trump could have won, thereby it not being a lame duck administration, but it absolutely could have been and is a lame duck administration. He's not in power right now, so the ramming through of ACB was an absolute shoehorn with a 500 horsepower engine behind it. So now we have this terrible Supreme Court in the United States that's doing all this. Here's the thing about this case. The person that she claimed in the case asked her for this website that she wanted to refuse exists. Yeah, he exists. But here's the problem. He never approached this person and asked for a website. He's horrified and stupefied to know that his name is being used in this suit when he never asked this company, never contacted this company, doesn't know who they are, never asked for a same-sex marriage website. He is a web designer himself, and he would have done the work himself had he wanted to do this. So let's see, gay web designer. Yeah, let's. Yeah, of course, there's the case. Supreme Court saws a web designer. The mysterious case of the fake gay marriage site. Blah, blah, blah. You wrote that. I called and asked about the inquiry. Yes, it was his name, phone number, and email address, website. But he never sent this form. He said at the time it was sent, he was married to a woman. If somebody's pulled my information as some kind of supporting information or documentation, somebody's falsified that, Stewart said. Stewart's last name is not included in the filing, so I'm just going to refer to him by his first name. I wouldn't want anybody to make me a wedding website, he continued puzzled. I'm married. I have a child. I don't know where this came from, but somebody's using false information. When Smith and her attorneys, the Christian right group Alliance Defending Freedom, brought this case for the first time, it was the United States District Court in Colorado in 2016. They lost. Smith and the ADF filed the case on September 20 that year, asking the court to enjoin it to the anti-discrimination law. Up to this point, Smith had never designed a wedding website. In fact, her website 6 months prior to the lawsuit being filed does not include any of the Christian messaging it did shortly afterward and how it is today. Archived versions of the site show this, so you can go to the Wayback Machine and find this out yourself. The initial lawsuit did not mention the Stewart inquiry, which was submitted to Smith's website on September 21st, according to the date and timestamp. Also, Stewart is a web designer, and he said he would have done it himself. The reporter says, well, I don't live inside Stewart's computer. There's a chance he's not telling me the whole story, and maybe this is some elaborate prank he pulled and doesn't want to confess to it. But if he's telling the truth, that this request was done completely without his knowledge, I don't have any answers for him. None of this makes sense. And neither Lori nor the ADF are responding to the inquiries. As late as 2020, ADF was maintaining that Stewart was doing a genuine inquiry. Speaking to requests from missed services in a filing, Lori had already received one. A prospective customer named Stewart contacted Lori through her webpage, asking about custom graphics and a website to celebrate his wedding to his fiance, Mike. What belief do you claim that you are expressing there? How are you being forced to lie or say things that you don't believe in because you are making a website? You're not giving your endorsement per se. You're doing business. I mean, that's like saying when McDonald's hands over a hamburger to Michael Vick and then Michael Vick goes home and abuses his dogs, is McDonald's supporting pet abuse, dog abuse? It's crazy. That's what she's trying to say over here. And this person saying, I didn't do this. So this case is really, really, really suspect, really, really eyebrow raising. And just another example of this ridiculously conservative SCOTUS that is just gone nuts. And one of the judges recently was like, all you people got to stop getting upset about our rulings and everything over here. No, you're making unpopular rulings. The prevailing opinion is that your shit's unpopular and you're doing it. You're going to get this kind of flack. And then finally here on the TPN News Blast here before the 4th of July, SCOTUS also struck down the student debt relief plan that Biden had been touting. People could sit here and say this is a way of courting Gen Z and everything. I don't think they need this to court Gen Z. Gen Z is firmly coming out against conservative and Republican politics and their politicians. It is why you have a Trumper lady saying we need to get into the colleges and we need to start disabling their ability to vote. Not we need to get into the colleges and start presenting more conservative viewpoints. They just want to outlaw voting from colleges. Some people want to set the voting age to be 21. If you can go into the military at 18, you're telling me you can't vote? If you can defend your country at 18, you can't make your country better by voting your conscience at 18? That's nuts. That is absolutely nuts. So they struck down the student debt forgiveness, and Biden is now going to go a little bit of a different way to try to get this through. Now, you have criticism here that is often levied from the older boomers who say that I paid for my college. Why does somebody else's college need to be paid for by not that person? It's the typical response of I got mine, who cares who gets theirs from here on out. And you see that often attached to older right-wing boomers. They're like, Social Security? Pfft, yeah, you can deal away with Social Security. I won't be here by the time Social Security would likely get taken away. I'm getting mine. Who cares what anybody else gets? And you can see that with student loan forgiveness and everything. It has been well proven, graph after graph, chart after chart, financial data after statistical data after economical data, that the gap between being able to pay for college and the cost of a college education has unhinged and gapped like a snake mouth, like a snake distending its lower jaw, disconnecting it, and eating a whole ass rabbit whole. That is the difference from when my parents' generation could have paid for college with summer jobs. And if you're going to college and you're a dedicated student and you're doing it full time, you're pulling your standard 15 credits, maybe more, maybe up to 18, maybe dipping a little bit down to 12, but you're doing a standard credit load. The amount of studying you're supposed to do to succeed, especially at good colleges, and not basically the one from the old shit, I'm forgetting it now, but it's the it's not like Madhouse College, but there was a more modern movie that was very, very similar to Madhouse, and my boy Blue, like the older guy Blue dies in it and everything. If you're not going to a college like that, or the one from the college that they make up so that the kids can still get out of the house and get their parents' money, but it's like a made-up college and they have to fake it when the parents show up for like Parents' Day and everything. I don't think that's Waiting, because I think Waiting is the restaurant one, but it's got a lot of the same people in it, and it was about the same era and everything. When you're going to a college somewhere higher than that, doing a full-time job to be able to pay for college and being college, something is going to give, obviously. And when you look at my parents' generation and their ability to get into good colleges, get 2-year degrees, 4-year degrees, and what they could do to actually get it paid for is not the current situation whatsoever. My generation of Gen X and everything, we are probably the last one who could get out of college and likely get into a reasonable house and everything with what they're getting paid for. And the generations after me, that's just not possible. And I will happily side with millennials and the generations after me and support stuff like this. My college was paid for. I did not come out of college with debt. I went into college with a very, very, very smart grandfather who did a lot of right things when I was born, and I was able to get into a college that I want. I got some scholarships at colleges. They were not the ones that I chose, but I got at least 2 scholarships for colleges who were courting me when I was applying to them and everything. I consider myself extremely, extremely lucky, because I know that is not reality. And like I know that I was blessed incredibly and benefited from very smart parents and very smart grandparents from the moment I was born to enable stuff like this. Not everybody has that luxury, but to somebody who has an extreme level of intelligence and absolutely deserves the right to go to college but financially can't do it, or is fearful of the finances after college, that's heartbreaking. And to see this get struck down, hopefully Biden can pull the end run around it like he wants, because this is just disgusting that this gets shot down. And I would never be of the stance of, well, I got mine, you got to work for yours. Just like, help these people out. Obviously, give them a chance to have the life that our parents and our grandparents had and everything. They absolutely deserve it, and it shouldn't be any different for them. And you could sit here and say, well, fine, then we'll stop funding Ukraine and everything. Just devote that money to student loan forgiveness. Well, yeah, let's not forget about all the people who got the PP loans during COVID that don't have to pay them back. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene and other senators, House representatives, people like Kanye West and Tom Brady, who got hundreds of thousands of dollars and don't have to do a damn thing about it. How about getting that money back and using that to help students out? It's a far greater cause to help somebody through college than to give ye some extra money for some particular reason. So he can go on a Joe Rogan podcast and say that he likes Hitler? Yeah, okay, whatever. It's the Political Napalm signing off. Happy 4th of July, everybody. And remember, if you love the United States, no matter what your political leaning are, never let anybody on an opposing political side take away patriotism for you. The right doesn't own patriotism. The left doesn't own patriotism. If you are an American-loving American and you will do anything for this country, you are a patriot no matter what somebody on the other side says. So to all the patriots out there, happy 4th of July. Political Napalm signing off.